Hi, welcome back to the Roundtable. I am your host, Steven, and today we are back with the part four of albums turning 40 in 2023. First up, a favorite of mine, Guilty Pleasure. This is Kiss. The album is Lick It Up. It came out September 18th, 1983. The big hoopla is, a couple of years prior, Kiss had been dabbling in disco. The concept album, The Elder, Creatures of the Night. Although Creatures of the Night is a phenomenal album, it didn't set the charts on fire, but a great album. Kiss were struggling to survive. They knew the 80s was going to be a different period for them, and they had to either get on board or get out of the way. And they decided to get on board. So, what they decided to do is they took off the trademark makeup and released a hard rock album that was kind of hard rocking, not as hard as Creatures of the Night, hard rocking, but just enough to get people who weren't necessarily Kiss fans in the 70s to take notice of this album, and it did. This was my first Kiss album. I was old enough to finally get it, and to this day I still love this album. Songs like Exciter, the opening track, is great. Lick It Up, obviously, they still play it. A Million to One is a great ballad. It's a good album. I think it's. I mean, will it match the greatness of Destroyer? No, but it's still a good album. Maybe I'm just biased because it's my first Kiss album and it was my introduction to the band. Maybe it's that, but I still love this album. I can put it on. A lot of the songs are on my playlist to this day. So after 40 years that I'm still talking about it, they've done something right. To me, anyways. Next up, we have Genesis. Their self-titled album came out October 3rd, 1983. This is with Phil Collins on board. This is one of those few albums that Genesis decided not to write material going into it, but do stuff there and figure it out. And it worked out pretty damn good. You had Mama, Home by the Sea, Illegal Alien, Taking It All Too Hard. Great album. I still love it. I still listen to it to this day, and I think it's a great Genesis album. Of course, some people will complain it's not Peter Gabriel singing, and I understand that. But take it as its own. It's a good one with Phil Collins. I think it still showed the progressive side of Genesis, but yet it was accessible to guys like me who weren't into that Peter Gabriel phase at the time. Next up, we have John Mellencamp. This is where he kind of changed his name from John Cougar to John Mellencamp, which is his real name. This is his seventh album. I like this album. I think I may have liked it better than the previous album, even though there's Jack and Diane. I think overall, I think is a stronger album, song for song, more cohesive in my opinion. And of course, songs like the Authority song, Crumbling Down, and Pink Houses solidified Mellencamp as a staple of this time. It's still a good album to this day. I still go back to it and I enjoy it tremendously. Next up, we have Billy Idol, Rebel Yell, came out in November of 83. This is where Billy Idol merges slick MTV rock with the new wave sound that he was known for. Eyes Without a Face, Rebel Yell, Flesh for Fantasy, Blue Highway are still great tracks now. He's known because of this album. This gave him that MTV push, and he became, a staple on there. He just got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and it wouldn't have happened without Rebel Yell. A great album in my opinion. Fun album. You can't go wrong with it. Lighthearted rock. You can't go wrong. Last but not least, Yes, 90125. That came out November 7th, 1983. This is, Yes had broken up a couple of years before, and Chris Squire decided to make a new project with Alan White and Trevor Rabin. And they brought in at one point John Anderson from Yes. And they were going to call it something else. But after hearing John Anderson's voice, they kind of said, you're known for Yes. We're going to call it Yes. And a lot of fans, this is one of those diversive albums that old time Yes fans may not jump on board. but I still say it's a good album. It is commercially, it's much more commercial than the older Yes albums. It's more accessible. Doesn't make it any less of a good album. Owner of a Lonely Heart, Changes, It Can Happen. It's a great album, and there's just enough still. There's hints and tinges of that progressive rock here and there. And Owner of a Lonely Heart, still I can hear it today on the radio, and I'll stop and I go, "Oh, I love this song." And 40 years in, that I still stop and go, "Oh, I love this song." He did something right. I don't know what it is. Can't tell you that definitively, but he did something right. So I like this album. I know a lot of fans don't, but I do. And that's the end of my list. Hope you like the list. If you have any more that you'd like to add, let me know. Send it in. We'd love to hear from you. And yeah, let me know. So this is Stephen from the Roundtable. Thank you for listening to this list. I know it was a long one. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you agreed with my selections. Do you think these albums still sound good? They still hold up? I'd love to know. Let me know. We'd love to hear from you. Please hit that like button and subscribe. This is Steve from the Roundtable wishing you the very best of 2023.